everyone, this is Carla again. I am back, and today we're doing an overview of the show PValley, talking about the fantasies, fairy tales, and tragedies of that series. So, again, my name is Carla, Courageous Carla, and this channel is where we talk about popular culture, including mainstream media, historical events, current events, and so much more. All of that with a twist on a different perspective of disabilities or disabled people, minorities, plus size, and so much more. All right, that's about me. Now let's talk about what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to talk about a breakdown of the series, as I mentioned in the title, the fairy tales, fantasies, and tragedies, again with some of those different perspectives like disabled, minority, and business owners. So without further ado, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. First up, we're talking about the fantasies. This story is all about the fantasies. Let me go back and say that this is a series about the world of a strip club in the Mississippi Delta. So there is definitely some Black history coming into play, and also so many other intertwined characters with different perspectives, history, certain representation, orientation, sexual orientations, and so much more. Let's talk about some fantasies. This show delivers so many fantasies and just beauty, Black beauty, looking at Black women and even Black men in a sensual light and erotic light, and they are showcasing their bodies. They're on full display for us all to see in the female form and in the masculine form, so we get a little feast for our eyes no matter what you like. And I just wanted to say it's so refreshing to see that perspective of different body types, skin tones just portrayed on screen in their own terms, and that really showcases the writing of that show and the casting and directors and just everyone behind the scenes. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And I wanted just to add on to what I was saying about Black beauty. We also see those within the trans community, is what I'm gonna call this person. This character is called Uncle Clifford, and per the website, this person is an embodiment of all masculine and all that's feminine. It's all in one in this one person. So we'll definitely be talking about this person so much more later down the line. All right, I just want to talk about again those fantasies again. We get to see these people in such an erotic light, but it's a selling of a fantasy, and it is a perspective, or it's a different thing to be shown those minority individuals showcased in their own terms, but in a sexual manner, sensual manner, which we don't often get to see portrayed, especially through, I'm gonna say, through Black eyes, if that makes sense. You know, without someone else from, let's say, the outside the Black community showcasing our bodies and the way our bodies look, and again, different shapes, colors, sizes, and so much more. So definitely good to see, and I truly appreciate that perspective. Next up, we're talking about the tragedies. This show definitely, it's a emotional roller coaster, as the song goes. It's 1 minute you're up, you're truly cheering and rooting for someone, and then the next scene, or maybe next episode, you may be down and feeling like you're in the pits of hell. And it's shown, this series that showcase multiple issues within the African American community. And let me give you a few examples of some of those tragedies. There's a character called Keyshawn, aka Miss Mississippi, and this character, we're shown the tragedy of her love life. We're shown she's in an abusive relationship, a victim of domestic violence, if you will. And this is kind of where I would like to stop and park and talk a little bit more, especially about the different perspectives that could appreciate that talk of domestic violence. So here we go. In terms of the series, we're shown in season 1, we're shown this character with just the bruises, and she even talks about the different scars and marks on her body. But we're just shown bruises on her neck and even semi-injury, and on, I believe, her arm. And then season 2, we are actually shown an act of domestic violence. And this deserves a trigger warning right now. So be warned, viewer. So anyway, in the series, we're shown this character with her boyfriend and the father of her children being physically abused. I mean, there's a punch, and then there's the threat of there's really no way to sort of code this, so I'm just gonna say it again. There was a punch, and then the threat of ironing this person. Her boyfriend Derek threatened to put an iron to this poor woman's face. And again, that was horrifying to watch, and I cannot imagine being in that scenario. But that scene is I hope it's an underrepresentation of what happens. I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine that there have been people in that scenario, and my heart goes out to you all. There'll be some resources in the description and a number on the screen for the domestic violence hotline. People, please, if you're in that situation, please reach out. Another tragedy is the failed plan of this character Keyshawn's escape from that relationship. In the later episodes of that season, there is a plan to get out, offered and suggested by another dancer that ends up in season 2 becoming the owner, called Autumn Night, aka Haley Colton. So this character has been a victim of domestic violence herself, and she offers a plan to help Keyshawn get out. And Keyshawn follows this advice, makes her exit strategy, and unfortunately it all goes south, and she realizes that she makes a plan to go back, and she has to confront her abuser. I don't want to give too much away, and I'd like to keep this video a little bit shorter than it could be, so let me try to be as brief as I can. But yeah, there was a scene. The plan was to take her kids to a relative, and after a shift of work, she was going to get her kids and then leave, escaping this abusive relationship. Well, that does not work out. She drops the kids off. The kids end up, because of another character, I don't know what happens. I believe it's her stepmother alluded to calling her boyfriend. She didn't understand why the kids were there. She called this boyfriend Derek, and Derek comes pick up the kids. So when this character Keyshawn has to get the kids, she is told that they're not there. They're with the father. Yeah, it's just a lot going on. I understand, viewer. Bear with me. So anyway, she realizes this is Keyshawn. She realizes she has to go back to get her kids, of course. She goes back into that house, is alone with this Derek, and it all goes to hell again. Unfortunately, there's a child protective service worker there, and the kids end up being taken, and unfortunately it looks like the kids have been physically abused, and Keyshawn is getting the blame, even though we're shown in the earlier episodes it was not Keyshawn, it was actually Derek that ended up admitting to hitting the kids. So just again, that is a lot to unravel. Please wrap your mind around that. But yeah, so unfortunately it does not work out. Keyshawn is unfortunately the victim of that tragedy, and she just snaps at the worst time at that house in front of this CPS worker, child protective services worker, and her boyfriend. Snaps, starts hitting her boyfriend. She ends up going to jail. And there are racial undertones as well. This character Derek is Caucasian, and is this CPS worker is Caucasian as well, and she is, unfortunately, there's some undertones of racism going on as well. But anyway, so yeah, that's Keyshawn's tragedy. Again, I just would like to stay here for a couple more seconds. Bear with me again, viewer, and say that I imagine there are so many people in this scenario or similar scenario that I please just implore you to try and reach out. If you have a plan in place, please have a backup plan in place, and to try to escape. Watching that episode, I was just thinking, at that point, this character Keyshawn really should not have been alone with this Derek. At that point, it's like, if you're gonna leave, you might as well leave, or at least never to be alone with this person again. But again, please call that hotline or get some more advice on that topic. All right, another tragedy was shown, and this is also in relation to Keyshawn, as well as throughout season 1 was shown the character of Diamond, that really seems to take a liking to Keyshawn and offers to take care of Derek, quote unquote, take care. And she rejects that. And at the end of that season 1, she stops a fight between Derek and Diamond. They're fighting, and she pulls a gun on this Diamond. And her explanation in season 2 was that she didn't want anything to happen to Diamond. So just take that as you will. Not too sure. I know there was a lot of discord on social media about why she would even threaten Diamond. Why would she protect her abuser? But that all sort of falls into some of the psychology of being a domestic violence victim. So yeah, it's like we want this character so badly to get a happy ending. So I really hope she does at some point. As a side note, she does actually call Diamond from jail and wants to take him up on that offer to take care of Derek, whatever that means. So, yeah, again, it's a lot to unravel. But that's Keyshawn's Tragedies. And I would also just like to say I'm really appreciative to see that the storyline just unfold on that CPS situation and what happens. How does this character get out of jail? There are so many minorities and even in the disabled community that end up getting involved in the CPS system and also the criminal justice system as well. And it's easy to kind of judge these people, but let's kind of take a step back and not do that. And I'm happy again we're shown how these characters end up in this scenario, and hopefully we're shown how they get out of these scenarios. I know it's really difficult, but it's definitely able to be done. Okay, next, moving on. Another tragedy is actually the club itself. I mentioned the show was based in a club, a strip club. Well, this strip club is called The Pink. And the tragedy is that this is a small business on land that's owned by Uncle Clifford. And it is, again, a small business. We're even shown in season 1, Uncle Clifford trying to get a small business loan that he ends up being denied. And, there is that struggle in season 1 to keep afloat because there is a big business corporation wanting to buy this person out to access the land because there's a big business that would like to do business. A casino would like to be on that property. So that is a tragedy, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I'll talk about that in the fairy tale portion of this video. So yeah, but at the end of season 1, we're shown this club going, as they call it, on the auction block. It's up for sale, but there is someone that comes in and swoops in and kind of saves the day, but I'll get into that in the later part of the video. Another tragedy we're shown in terms of love or amore is the character of Uncle Clifford himself. He ends up getting into a romantic situationship with this character called Little Murder. We're not quite sure if this is only a sexual thing or if this is more than that. But the tragedy is that at the end of season 1 that this Little Murder character is not ready to acknowledge being romantically linked to this Uncle Clifford, this trans individual. So it is heartbreaking to watch. He really seems like he liked him. So in how many people have been in that scenario where you may not fit societal views or expectation of what a relationship is supposed to look like, whether it's if it's a taboo relationship like a homosexual relationship, or even in what's called an interable relationship, meaning let's say an able-bodied person with a disabled person, or an interracial relationship. Are both parties willing to be, let's say, are they willing to quote unquote come out? Interfaith relationships can be difficult as well. So many different relationships, if you don't come from the same background and religion and blah blah blah, it can be a struggle. So I know a lot of people could definitely understand that scenario. So again, we were rooting for this in season 1, disappointed, but in season 2 we're shown both characters coming kind of full circle, going through, they separate, but they end up coming back together in the end. So we'll see. I know there's some conversations on social media about whether the end of season 2, if it were real or not. Again, I don't want to give too many spoiler alerts about the official ending of that season, but there is a scene that was shown where Uncle Clifford and Little Murder were there at the end and loved up and publicly together, that it might not be reality. It may be a fantasy or a dream, if you will. So we'll see. Definitely rooting for a fairy tale in that regard. Okay, I think we're done with the tragedies, and let's start wrapping up this video and talk about some fairy tales. So there is a love fairy tale that was shown originally with the character Keyshawn and her boyfriend Derek. Yes, I just said that. Before the tragedy, actually in the same episode as the tragedy, we're shown a love story. We're shown how these two people come together, and two kind of hurt individuals. The character Miss Mississippi has had some issues with colorism and the color of her skin and being considered darker skinned and really accepting herself. And we've shown Derek as being someone that doesn't quite meet his father's expectation. He's a cheerleader. He's pretty athletic too, but a cheerleader nonetheless. So we're seeing him with bruises on his face, Derek, mind you. And this is back when they're in high school. So they kind of come together. They do come together and they end up in a relationship. And we're shown that it seemed like a fairy tale of them two together, especially against all odds. However, there were some things that happened, and the fairy tale was basically, it came crumbling down. And while Keyshawn was pregnant with the first child, she actually is hit or choked, if you will, by Derek, because he's angry. Like I mentioned, they were in high school and they become parents at the end of high school, probably, let's say best case scenario, after graduating, but they become parents really young. And unfortunately, there was no mental help in relationship or in relation to getting over that cycle of abuse. So he ends up doing what he knows and begins hitting and beating and abusing this character, and we're shown it. It's sad, but again, there was a fairy tale in there at the beginning. So please, ladies and gentlemen, just watch out. Make sure you're with someone you trust, and make sure you know them a little bit better, and encourage a mental health professional or something. I know it was mentioned many times. Meghan Markle really pushed Prince Harry to get that mental help, and he seems so much better for it and appreciative and vocal about it. So this generation is definitely getting a whole lot better. So let's just continue to promote that. All right, more fairy tales. I'm gonna say The Pink. Yep, the club itself was, again, it was up to be sold, but the character Autumn Night ends up using the money she has at her disposal and saves the club, saves the Pink. There's a whole story behind that, but again, don't want to go there too much. So yeah, she saves the club. It is saved, but she wants to put it back up because she wants to take the casino deal. And actually, that falls south. I'll just give that away right now. Spoiler alert. They end up coming up with rules rules of the city to get out of the selling of that club. So the casino's actually going to build a waterway to another character called Corbin through his house. So that's how the casino's going to get on their property, get the waterfront views, blah, blah, blah. So the club, the Pink, is able to still stand, and hopefully we'll get a season 3. And I do want to stop here and just say that I really do appreciate that conversation about money and finances and interest and ownership and stakeholder rights and X, Y, and Z. Appreciate that, especially in the minority community, the Black community, Black female, or any minority female. We really need more of those conversations, even in the disabled community. So many people need so much more education on finances and money. And, I know there's this, get money, fast money culture, but, do many people even know what that means? I'm not even sure I do, but, I would like to know so much more. So, again, appreciative, and I believe that's some conversations I really want us to be having more about money and finances. Lastly, I would just like to say another fairy tale is Uncle Clifford's grandmother Ernestine. We're shown she gets COVID, and that is a tragedy a little bit, but let's just talk about the fairy tale. We're shown she's given a second chance at life. Beautiful thing to watch, that she diagnosed with COVID, gets COVID, goes to the hospital, but she ends up getting a new lease on life and pulls through. So brave, strong woman with a beautiful voice, and she gets a little loving in the end with one of the workers in the club. I think they just call him a Ugandan. So happy to see all of that. And that is the fairy tale that we are going to end on. Okay, we are at the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. I know that was a lot, but if you're still watching, I appreciate you so very much. There are a few questions I asked in the video. Please answer those questions. I hope you like this video. I know it was a long one, but a good one. I'll try to do in the future maybe a 2-part breakdown or something, just so the videos aren't as long. But anyway, this is where we are. Please watch that show. Stream it. It is on Starz. It's a good show if you appreciate beauty, minority beauty, Black beauty. And again, I talk on your education and the finances, or just like fairy tales, just want to watch. It has all that your little heart and body can desire. And I know that there is still not a renewal of that season, so please push that on your socials. Definitely let the network know, let the writers know that we love that show, and we would definitely appreciate a season 3, because we have a lot to still go over, and some characters still needing that full circle moment. As normal, if you like this video, please give it a like, comment how'd you like this show. What do you have to say? What do you guys take away from it? Let me know in the comments, or if you're a new subscriber, please let me know. I would love to showcase you guys on future videos. Share this with anyone you think that will appreciate this, and subscribe if you haven't done so already to become a courageous lion. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Carpe diem. Goodbye.